Good morning. My name is Benjamin Vale Schweitzer. I'm the green coffee buyer and head roaster here at Thump Coffee in Bend, Oregon. You're in our lovely roasting facility. Today I'm going to be talking about two of my personal favorite brewing methods, the V60 and the Aeropress. First of all, what you're going to need to make coffee like this at home and follow our recipes are a scale that's accurate to a gram. This is a Hario scale. We sell them here. They're pretty good. And hopefully a gooseneck kettle. So some sort of way of pouring hot water with a spouted kettle like this that'll give you very precise control of the direction of your flow. All of our brew recipes are going to involve weighing the coffee and weighing the water, thus the need for the scale. The recipe that we're going to be executing right now for the V60 is a 24 grams of coffee to 408 grams of water recipe. I'm going to go ahead and pour out the coffee into our lovely HG1 hand grinder here. It's very important that you have a burr grinder to grind your coffee, whether you have it ground at the coffee shop or at home. Ideally, you grind it just before you make the cup of coffee, as we are doing here. However, the burr grinder is going to ensure you have even particle sizes in your coffee, and you're going to get better extraction. We have our ground coffee, rinsed, filter out, warmed vessel here. Turn on my scale. Dose my coffee out. We're going to start with a small bloom or pre-infusion. I'm going to start the timer. We're going to let the coffee take on a little bit of water and start to outgas and release some of the aromatic compounds and the carbon dioxide built up in the coffee in the roasting process. Let it sit there for about 30 seconds. Then we're going to go in with the rest of the brew water and keep pouring in a steady way until we hit our final brew volume of 480 grams. Pouring towards the center of the cone here. Very constant method. I don't want to get the water level too high. The higher the water level, the more gravity is pushing down on the water to flow out the bottom of the V60 cone, and so you're going to get a higher flow rate. Just want to pour really steady and gradually in the center of the cone, so as not to create channeling along the sides of the V60 dripper. Filling this until the scale tells me that I have all of my brew water in here, which is going to be 408 grams. And remember, that's a 17 to 1 ratio of water to coffee in this brew method that we're doing right now. So then we just let it drain out. The timer's currently at 1 minute and 30 seconds. Total contact time that we're looking for on the V60 is going to be anywhere from 2.5 to 3 minutes. So basically, it'll take about another minute to a minute and a half to drain. And then at the end of that process, we'll have a cup of brewed coffee. Moving on now, I'll just let that drain out. We're going to transition to the Aeropress. Aeropress is going to be a full contact brew method similar to a French press. The main difference is that an Aeropress has a paper filter built in at the bottom, and so you don't get that sludge or chalky substance at the bottom of the cup that you get in the French press. So I'm going to rinse this out real quick with some more of my hot water. I brewed the V60 on a scale, but I know how much water the Aeropress holds when placed upside down. This chamber holds 250 grams of water, give or take. And we're going to put 17 grams of coffee in, which means that we're using a 15 to 1 ratio of water to coffee on the Aeropress versus a 17 to 1 ratio of water to coffee on the V60. It's going to give us more concentration in the brew. It's going to have a higher total dissolved solids count, which means that you get more of the coffee in the cup, more body, higher concentration. So the Aeropress is going to emphasize the body of the coffee, whereas the V60 is going to emphasize more the sweetness and the aromatics. Here's my 17 grams of coffee. We also use a slightly finer grind size for our Aeropress recipe than the V60. So I made a small adjustment on my hand grinder in order to make this cup versus the last one. V60 is done now. It's finished right at about 2 minutes and 45 seconds, which is close to ideal. What I'm going to do now is actually measure the total dissolved solids in that coffee, and it will illustrate what I'm talking about in terms of the difference between the Aeropress and the V60. It'll actually give us a number by which we can measure that substance in the coffee that we equate as body, which is the dissolved solids from the coffee deposited into the solution of coffee. So that's measuring the total dissolved solids. We're going to start this process again with a bloom or pre-infusion on our Aeropress. I'm going to go in with just a little bit of water and let the grounds soak up some of the moisture and let that sit for 30 to 45 seconds. I have my timer running. And again, I don't have to do this cup on a scale because I know that that chamber holds 255 grams of coffee, which is just how much we need to keep our recipe in line. It's hit 30 seconds. It looks like that coffee's nice and saturated in there. I'm going to go in with the rest of my brew water. Fill this Aeropress up to the rim and let it sit for another 2.5 minutes. That means that our Aeropress recipe, our total contact time before the push is going to be 3 minutes. If you count the time that it takes to extract the coffee out of the Aeropress when you press this plunger down, total contact time is usually going to be around 3.5 minutes to 3 minutes and 45 seconds. I took the total dissolved solids reading on the V60 pour over that I made. Total dissolved solids of 1,540 parts per million. So that's well within our range of acceptable, what we'd like to expect when we make a cup of V60 coffee. Produces a really nice, sweet, balanced cup of coffee. I've had more experience making V60s than any other manual brew method, and time again, I'm really surprised by just how much flavor clarity you get out of them. It's a really simple process, just pouring hot water over some grounds. But what makes it special is that you have active control over the kind of coffee that you get. Still have 1 minute and 15 seconds on our Aeropress here while it's sitting brewing, but I'm going to go ahead and put that lid on here. This filter holds, like I said, a paper filter, and so you're going to have a lighter body in an Aeropress when compared to a French press that has no paper filter, but just a metal mesh screen. This is referred to as an upside down method for the Aeropress, so at the end we flip it around, right side back up. When our timer hits 3 minutes, I'm going to start pressing down, and again, forcing the water through that paper filter and into the beaker, and we'll get a total dissolved solids reading on this cup of coffee and compare it to our V60 cup of coffee, and hopefully it'll illustrate what I was talking about earlier, about there being more body to our Aeropress recipe than our V60 recipe. Fit 3 minutes now. Start pressing the coffee through the filter. By the time I'm done, we're probably going to be at 3 minutes and 20 seconds for total contact time. Our Aeropress is ready. I'm going to go ahead and take the total dissolved solids reading of our Aeropress coffee and compare it to our V60 coffee. But by looking at them, I can tell that the Aeropress looks cloudier than the V60. Total dissolved solids are 2,029 parts per million in our Aeropress, and so just like I predicted, it's going to be a heavier bodied cup of coffee because more of the coffee particles, those microscopic coffee particles, ended up in the cup versus the V60. That's a function of both a higher concentration, so less water to coffee, and also pressure and smaller grain size. Thanks for watching this video. Hopefully it gives you a starting point for how to make some coffee at home. Please come visit us here at the Thump Roastery. We're at 744 Northwest Bond Street, Unit 2. Or visit our cafe in Bend, Oregon at 25 Minnesota Avenue. Or in Denver at the corner of 13th